All right, it's starting to feel like fall outside. Nothing says fall like week 6 of high school football. We have a football Frankie Friday.
Yeah.
There we go.
Friday night, light, Frankie, football. Yeah, whatever you want to throw out there. We love alliterations. Well, we are just halfway through the season, and the pretenders and contenders are beginning to separate when it comes to the race for conference titles. Now, Mount Si has established themselves as favorites in the KIRO 4A. Woodinville had their shot at knocking off the Wildcats tonight, but that would prove difficult. Mount Si getting on the board early. The pocket collapses on the quarterback, Cyrus Turley. He scrambles left and then finds Ryder Weiss over the middle. Weiss breaks a few tackles. No defender can bring him down. He finds the end zone for the early lead, and early in the third quarter, that's where we're looking. Turley will find Jack Taylor on the goal line. He goes up and gets that one, bringing it down for the score, 17-0. Mount Si. Now, the Wildcats would add one more touchdown late in the third quarter. The defense did its job as well. Wildcats cruised to a 26-0 win.
That's who we want to be, no doubt about it. Offense, defense, special teams. We're a physical brand of football, so I loved how the kids came out and played, and we're really focused and improving every week.
Dude, I'm so proud of these guys. You know, like my O-line is like amazing. Like they make my job so easy. The defense comes out here, shuts them out, put a big goose egg on the board, and nothing better. You know, I just feel blessed.
All right, now it's time to get you involved. Go ahead and add your vote on Twitter at KIRO 7 Seattle for next week's game of the week. It's either Kamiak at Jackson, Pilchuck at Glacier Peak, or Monroe at Edmonds Woodway. The results later in the show, and we're back after this timeout. All right, we're back on the KIRO 7 High School football report, and after beating O'Day last week, Eastside Catholic is back atop the Metro League, and so are the Garfield Bulldogs, and guess who they hosted tonight? This game was billed a defensive battle, and gosh, it was for the most part. Crusaders go for the long ball, but Henry Smith comes up with the interception for Garfield. They would take the next drive into the second quarter and into the end zone. Quarterback E.J. Kamanong goes around the right side to put the Bulldogs in front. Eastside Catholic would answer, and Mason Uribe gets behind his blocks and goes the long way for a 2-yard score. The Crusaders defense did the rest, and A.J. Tanupo, well, with the big pressure up from the middle, he came in with the sack. Eastside Catholic goes on for the win, 30-10. Now, a doubleheader at Memorial tonight. O'Day and Roosevelt met up in the early game, and the Fighting Irish got off to a quick start. Jason Brown takes the handoff near midfield, and he's gone. 7-0 O'Day early. Later in that quarter, though, the Fighting Irish knocking on the door again. They go back to the ground, but this time it's Christian Wynn punching in with the short distance touchdown, and early in the second quarter. More of the same, a little more work this time for Wynn, but same result. The offensive line opens the nice hole, and he takes advantage of it. A nice long touchdown run this time. O'Day pitches a shutout in this one, and they beat the Riders 38-0. Now, non-conference scores, Lake Stevens wins over at home from East Lake. Liberty goes on the road and wins big at Snohomish. 4 teams come into the weekend tied atop the South Puget Sound League 4A. Emerald Ridge and Bethel were 2 of them. It was 14-0 Jaguars. Bethel inside the 5-yard line. Fumbled snap, and it's recovered by Logan Lishernis from Emerald Ridge. But both teams had a case of turnoveritis after the catch. Caden Robnett forces a fumble. Cyrus Housey pounces on the ball for the recovery. The Bison would turn it back down over the downs, and eventually the Jags capitalized before halftime. Jake Skok calls his own number, and he gets in. Emerald Ridge rolls to another win. 28-7 is the final score. Now, other scores in the South. Tumwater bounces back from last week's loss with a win against Aberdeen, and Yelm is making its case as the best team in the 3A. Alrighty, one final segment here on the high school football report. As we mentioned, Emerald Ridge and Bethel among the teams atop the SPSL 4A standings. Puyallup is one of the others, and they got a handful from Olympia last night. No touchdowns until the second half. Mal Durant goes 57 yards for the catch and carry. Olympia wouldn't go away. Gabe Downings, he finds Drew Carlson in the fourth quarter for a touchdown. It was only a 1-score game before Puyallup finally puts this to rest. Caden Rothlessness Katafias with his third and final touchdown pass of the game. This one also to Durant. Puyallups defense was also key as they beat Olympia 29-24. Now as we head over to the North Puget Sound League, Federal Way is staying in the conference title race in 4A. They hosted Tahoma and the Eagles offense was clicking. Jay O'Neill hits Rashawn Clark with a 47-yard touchdown. The Bears trailed by 20 but answered after a long kick return. Parker Peshnell with the short touchdown pass to get Tahoma back in the game. It was all Federal Way from there though. Dre Jordan takes the punt return 76 yards back the other way. Eagles cruised in on this one 61-14 over Tahoma. They're now 4-2 on the season. Saturday afternoon, Bonnie Lake made the trip to Mount Tahoma as both teams try to keep their hopes alive for the district playoff spot. Bonnie Lake playing catch up in the second half. Braden Palmer finding Marcus Lloyd for a 16-yard touchdown to get the Panthers back in the game. The T-Birds would answer on the opening drive of their third quarter. Running back Loa Ziris finds a hole, then powers in from 6 yards for another touchdown. Derek McKinney of Mount Tahoma was our player of the week, and here's why. He shows that he can move with his feet and he can find the end zone with his arm. 24 yards to Jaja Abdullah for another score, and the T-Birds win again. They hold off the Panthers 35-21. Now across town, Stadium met up with Lincoln. The Abes also lean in on the arm and the legs of their quarterback, Gabari Johnson. He fools the defense on the keeper. He goes 58 yards to the end zone to open the scoring for Lincoln. Johnson has run for at least 100 yards in each of his last 3 games. Later in the first quarter, though, he shows off the arm and the ability to avoid the rush. He gets his eyes downfield and spots Navari Dixon for a 15-yard touchdown. The Tigers would get a couple stops but struggled on offense. Meanwhile, Johnson continued to march the Abes. The quick out pass turns into another touchdown where Drake Granberry gets a good block and does the rest. 49 yards straight to the end zone. Stadium would get on the board late, but Lincoln wins big again, 49-6. Now, okay, voting is in, and the game of the week is Pilchuck against Glacier Peak. We thank you so much for voting. That's going to do it for us here tonight, though. For more scores and highlights, you can always visit KIRO7.com. Chris Francis will have much more with the Mariners tomorrow from Toronto.